What would you suggest if an athlete is working with a coach, like they're on a team that they want to be on, but the coach is it's a toxic environment. So that's one question. What do you think you should do in that situation? And then what do you see? What would the qualities be that you see in the best coaches you've ever worked with?
In terms of if you identify that your kid's in a toxic environment, right? Um, I'd like you to think of it in the terms of an abusive environment.
Agreed.
Just think of it like that. As grim as that sounds,
Oh,
like
it's true
if
though.
if we if we heard something about a kid was being abused in an environment, what would you do? Take your kid out,
100%.
right? But with the sport, it's just like what happens is because the kids, especially you shoot with girls as well, they develop these relationships and they want
Yes.
to be with their friends,
Yes.
right? But again, it's like on us to be as parents to be like, hey, listen, yes, you're gonna be disappointed at me right now. You may not like me, you might be upset, right? But this is probably the best situation to kind of pull you out from,
100%.
right? And again, it's just again, you have to know your kid, how they're gonna respond, right? Some kids will be like, I'm gonna be upset. Some kids will be like, I'm quitting, they'll rebel. We don't know, but that's an individual basis. But
Mhm.
for me, I look at it in terms of if you see it's less than ideal, I would recommend kick your kids out.
I like those words, abusive, because that's what happens out there.
It's what
Yeah.
things will grab people's attention when I use those kind of words because
Smart.
it's kind of like that though.
It
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 is like
100%.
Like that.
and
I've
we
had
we make
coaches like
as
that.
parents,
Tim
we
has as
we
well.
make excuses because it's like, "Ugh,
Yeah.
I don't want this to stunt their
Or
pathway in this sport."
or the biggest thing that you'll see as well is it's just convenient. Like, listen,
Yes. This one's so
this
close.
practice is on Wednesday at 4:45,
That's
and based
so
off of our
true.
schedule, I come from work here. I
That's
got to do
true.
this,
That's
right?
true.
We're in this
It's such a
society
good
now where
point.
it's insane how busy everyone
Yeah.
is.
It's such a good point.
So you're just like,
You're picking the convenient one.
yeah. You're like, oh, this Saturday 9:45 class, it works like perfect in our schedule,
Yes.
right? So those are the kind of
A
things that
great point.
happen, and we just have to just be cognizant of it and just be like, hey, listen, we are going to make a difficult decision, all right?
Yeah.
And then in terms of like the best coaches I've seen, are ones that are very adaptable in swimming. I think they call it's like from puddle to podium. And essentially what that is like from the grassroots all the way up, right? So the best coaches I've seen are ones that have like gone through that pathway, not themselves, but they've, coached along
All
it
the
Mhm.
or have
ages.
coached
Yeah.
an athlete through it.
Yeah.
And what does that mean if you see an athlete go from the beginning to the end? That means experience. You've just seen a lot
Mhm.
more. And it's one of those things I remember when I was first getting into the strength and conditioning industry, I was upset when you would see someone like, oh yeah, we want someone like 7+ years experience, right? But it's like you have all the educational background,
Mhm.
it doesn't you just
Mhm.
don't have that experience. And
Mhm.
like those years of experience actually really mean something,
Mhm.
right? In terms of you've seen when things go good, you've seen things go bad, you've seen different ways people are able to do things, right? The biggest thing I like to say, there's multiple roads that lead to Rome,
Mhm.
right? So in terms of like with coaches, just having that experience and hey, you know what? I've seen your daughter reminds me of someone, your son reminds me of someone, and this is the path that they went. I've seen it where someone takes a quote unquote conventional path. I've seen someone who's taken a rocky path. They left the sport for a couple of years and they came
Mhm.
back and look where they are now. It's like, oh, there's many ways to do things, right? So the good coaches I find are the ones that have that experience. And I've been fortunate enough to work with a lot of good ones, especially when I was working at rugby. Um, you know, he had been he'd been in the pathway and then he was coming back and finding young talent and bringing them up, right? And then a lot of our girls that we'd see are now on the the 7 series stage and
Mm.
things like that. And
Wow.
then he was the one that called it out. He's just like, hey, this girl, she'll be in Paris in 2024. And I was like, oh, okay. She was 13. And I was like, oh.
Wow.
He's like, no, I've seen it before. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then there she's there. And I was like, whoa. So I was like, 2024 was kind of like the icing on the cake for me to just see what that development pathway looks like, and then just like how they were coached, where they went, what they had to do, and it was just like, oh, it's really eye opening.